Hello, friends. Welcome back. Today, I'm going to tell you a real true crime story from the United States, a case that shocked investigators, devastated a family, and forced millions of people to question how well we really know the people closest to us. This is not fiction. This is not rumor. Every detail you are about to hear happened in real life, in modern America, behind the doors of what looked like a perfect home. In the quiet suburban town of Frederick, Colorado, neighbors describe the area as peaceful, safe, and family-oriented. Children played outside, couples walked their dogs, and nothing ever seemed out of place. One of the families living there appeared to have it all: a successful husband, a loving wife, 2 young daughters, and another baby on the way. Their social media was filled with smiles, birthday celebrations, and hopeful plans for the future. But behind those carefully curated images, something dark was growing, unseen by almost everyone. On the morning of August 13, 2018, a woman named Shannon Watts was reported missing. She was 15 weeks pregnant and had 2 daughters, 4-year-old Bella and 3-year-old Celeste. The report came in after a friend noticed something was wrong. Shannon had missed an important appointment, wasn't answering her phone, and her car was still in the driveway. For a woman known to be active, responsible, and constantly connected, this silence was terrifying. Police arrived quickly, expecting perhaps a medical emergency or a misunderstanding. What they walked into would become one of the most disturbing family crime scenes in recent American history. The house looked strangely normal. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken windows, no obvious struggle. Shannon's purse was still inside. Her phone was there too. The children's blankets and favorite toys hadn't moved. It was as if the entire family had simply vanished into thin air. Standing beside the officers was Shannon's husband, Chris Watts, calm, cooperative, almost too calm. He told police that his wife and daughters had left the house after an emotional conversation and that he had no idea where they went. But something about his demeanor felt off, even in those first moments. As news spread, Chris Watts gave interviews to local media. He stood in front of his home, pleading for his family to come back. He spoke about how much he loved them, how he just wanted them safe. But viewers noticed strange details: no tears, nervous laughter, and an unsettling lack of urgency. People watching from home began asking questions. If your pregnant wife and 2 small children were missing, would you act like this? Would you be able to smile? Would your body language betray your words? Investigators began digging deeper. They reviewed surveillance footage from nearby homes and noticed something alarming. Early that morning, Chris's truck was seen backed into the driveway, something he rarely did. Video showed him making multiple trips between the house and the truck, but no footage showed Shannon or the children leaving on their own. So here's a question for you. At what point do small details become undeniable evidence? Police also looked into Chris's phone records and discovered something else. He was having an affair with a coworker. While his wife was pregnant and managing 2 young children, Chris was secretly planning a new life. Text messages revealed excitement about freedom, finances, and a future without his family. Investigators began to suspect that the perfect husband image was nothing more than a mask. Only days after the disappearance, Chris failed a polygraph test. When confronted, he broke down, but not in the way people expected. He first claimed that Shannon had harmed the children and that he had reacted in rage, but this story quickly fell apart under scrutiny. Eventually, the truth emerged, and it was far more horrifying than anyone imagined. Chris Watts confessed that he had strangled his pregnant wife inside their home. Then, while his daughters were still alive, he placed their mother's body in his truck and drove to an oil site where he worked. During that drive, his children sat in the back seat, unaware that their mother was already dead. Think about that for a moment. What kind of mind allows such a thing to happen? What breaks inside a person to make this possible? At the oil site, Chris killed both of his daughters and disposed of their bodies in crude oil tanks. Shannon's body was buried in a shallow grave nearby. When investigators later recovered the remains, the entire nation was shaken. These were not crimes of passion in the heat of the moment. These were calculated, deliberate acts carried out by someone who wanted a clean escape from responsibility. As details came out, public outrage exploded. People asked how someone could live a double life so convincingly. Friends said Chris was quiet, helpful, and dependable. Coworkers trusted him. Neighbors waved at him. There were no obvious warning signs. So here's another question. Are monsters always easy to recognize, or do they sometimes look just like everyone else? During the court proceedings, Chris eventually pled guilty to multiple counts of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. No dramatic trial, no redemption arc, just a permanent end to the freedom he thought he deserved. But for many, justice still felt incomplete. No sentence could ever bring back Shanann, Bella, Celeste, or the unborn baby, Nico. This case forced a nationwide conversation about image versus reality. Social media had painted a picture of happiness, but behind the scenes, resentment and selfishness were growing unchecked. It made people question how much we really know about even our closest partners. How many relationships hide silent struggles? How many smiles are used as camouflage? Another chilling aspect of this case was how quickly suspicion turned towards the husband. In many true crime stories, investigators search far and wide for strangers, but statistically, the danger often comes from within the home. This reality is uncomfortable, but it's real. So let me ask you, why do we still find it so hard to accept that family members can be capable of unimaginable violence? Even years later, the Watts case remains one of the most discussed true crime stories in the United States. Documentaries, interviews, and psychological analyses continue to examine how this tragedy unfolded. Experts point to narcissism, emotional detachment, and a desire for control. But no explanation ever truly feels enough, because when innocent children are involved, logic fails to satisfy grief. For Shanann's family, the pain never ends. Birthdays pass without laughter, holidays come without little footsteps. Their loss is permanent, and their lives were shattered by someone they trusted completely. This reminds us that true crime is not entertainment for those left behind. It is a lifelong sentence of sorrow. So, here's a final question for you. Do you believe this crime could have been prevented? Were there warning signs that were missed, or was this tragedy inevitable once the truth was hidden for too long? And most importantly, what does this case teach us about trust, accountability, and the dangers of living a lie? Stories like this aren't just about shock value. They are warnings. They show us the importance of paying attention, of speaking up, and of never assuming that silence means safety. Evil doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers behind closed doors.